but a light dethatching done well with the right machine and a spring low mow can do wonders. So let's talk about order, right? So order of operations. In the front yard, we're gonna start with the low mow, which is gonna make the dethatching process easier. So when you low mow, it's critical that you bag your clippings. I'm gonna pull this bag off and show y'all just in 2 passes just how much grass was pulled off. So in 2 passes, we got that much pulled off of there. Dethatching is the process, power rake is the tool. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna flip this thing over. I'm gonna show you kind of what the underside looks like, what it's actually doing. You're gonna have a bagger and you're gonna have 2 different blade attachments. I honestly don't use the other blade attachment, so I don't even know where it is. This is the power rake part, and as you might be able to tell, I don't know if you can see from there, but these are just tines, kind of like really, really skinny rake tines. So they just spin really fast, and when you put the bag on there, this thing lifts up and it kind of tosses the grass back into the bag and picks it up. I'm gonna run it and just show you guys kind of what it does. The other thing you guys might want to know about this and most units is, like a mower, you got your little setting here for height adjustments, and depending on how aggressive you want to be, you set it here. I highly, highly recommend just use the tallest setting. Don't be terribly aggressive. Like I said, with most things, this can be a little bit stressful. If I feel like it's stressing the grass out too much, I'll stop. So I'm gonna set it on the highest setting. I'm gonna throw my bag on here and I'll make a couple passes and kind of just show you guys what that looks like. All right. I guess one thing we should talk about while we're talking about thatch and dethatching is thatch itself. What is it? So thatch is really common in zoysia grass in particular when it gets really, really thick and healthy. Usually, you know, after it's grown vigorously for a little while, lots of fertilizer and water, it's growing vigorously. So you'll end up with a bunch of dead, decaying material in the grass. It just kind of grows vertically and gets stuck in there. This isn't terrible. My lawn does have some thatch, as you'll see, but not like a crazy amount. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get in there with that power rake, just try to get this out as much as possible. As you see, the more you get out, the more it's green. So I'm gonna do the best I can. Again, this is not terribly thatchy, so I'm gonna take it easy and just see how much of this stuff I can get out of here and clean it up for air, oxygen, and nutrients to make it all the way down to the soil profile as much as possible. One thing I highly recommend is having another bag, trash bag, whatever, behind you, because one pass filled up almost an entire bag. So we'll keep going. We'll put this on a time lapse. As you can tell, dethatching is a lot of work. I'm sure you can see my shirt, my face. It's expensive in terms of effort, but it has to be weighed against the cost of fungicide. Dethatching is a key component of cultural disease and pest control. You have to weigh the physical cost, the actual monetary cost, and your own willingness to be exposed and expose your family to fungicides, insecticides, and things like that. Our mission as a company is to try to do as minimal or as little as that as possible. We're trying to have our cake and eat it too, so you do have to use some of that stuff. But if you do things like dethatching, low mowing, proper mowing, sharp blades, etc., you can reduce the need for those inputs drastically. On my lawn, as I encourage you guys to do, I just really recommend put in the effort, you know, go ahead. Now, you can hire somebody to do that. Spring low mow is gonna cost more than a regular mow. Dethatching is obviously a very specific service, so you're looking at probably whatever your company may charge for aeration, and then close to that, maybe even more than that, maybe even double, because it is a lot of work and you do have a lot of material to remove. I don't know if you guys can see this wheelbarrow behind me very clearly, but I mean, I'm elbow deep in this, and it is not loose grass, it's packed down. This is just my front yard, which is maybe 1,000 square feet at the absolute most. And I did a spring low mow right before I did this. So, I mean, I must have removed every 2 passes. So I must have removed 6, 7 bags of grass just from the low mow. And then, I mean, a full entire packed wheelbarrow full of dethatched material. So it's a lot of work. You're gonna sweat. So if you do hire somebody, just appreciate the fact that that's what's gonna happen to them, and it's gonna be a lot of work. So if they do charge you a decent amount of money, it's probably for a good reason, as long as they do a good job. Also, I only did my lawn in one direction, mostly because it just didn't need that much more, and I wasn't willing to put it under that much more stress to go 2 directions, although you'll hear some people recommend that. The other thing, you know, kind of some of the haters might say about dethatching is that, you know, all this material is decaying material that could return to the soil and add nutrients back to the soil. I hear that argument, I understand that argument, but it's one of those arguments for me, it's like you're getting back pennies in exchange for dollars, and it's just not worth it. So yes, over 5, 6, 7 years, this material is going to break down and create really, really good soil. In fact, I compost this material and create it back into good soil around kind of the wooded area behind me, just as a mulching underneath those trees and things. It works really well for just kind of suppressing wild growth. But in terms of like putting it back into the soil in my lawn, that's what our program is for. We're adding a ton of organic material back in. So this is kind of the most natural version of that, but it takes so long and there's so many negatives alongside of it. And we're trying to push our turf to a higher level. We're trying to push it to the thickest, greenest it could be. We're watering, we're doing all the things. And so in those scenarios, you know, we're pushing so hard that it can cause disease and things like that. Like I said, we are trying to have our cake and eat it too. So I do hear the haters, I hear what y'all are saying. However, I don't think it's worth it. I don't think it applies if we're trying to do, you know, high level turf management in any capacity, which in my world, in my lawn, and from my company's perspective, that's what we're trying to do. So we wouldn't want to leave this material for that reason. And anyway, that about wraps it up. I'm going to dump this and get rid of it. And I hope you guys enjoyed the content and the video, and I hope you guys learned something.